So Andy tees up first. He says, "Hi team, I wanted to ask why sometimes the IFTTT failed to syndicate my blog post to all my Web2 properties, and after a few days or sometimes weeks later, everything back to normal. Why is this happening from time to time? Do you guys face the same issue? Thanks." Not really. I mean, yeah, of course it happens sometimes, Andy. What I would recommend is that you are, if you're not doing this already, is go purchase network monitoring from SerpSpace. Plug all your networks into there, because you'll get notifications when something is not posting properly, and it's very inexpensive. And so you can jump in there very quickly and figure out what's going on. A lot of the times, if it's a specific Web2 that it didn't post to, then most of the time it's just you have to reconnect that service or that channel. So that Web2 property, you just got to go into IFTTT, go to services, go select that property, and then hit reconnect, and that'll fix it. If it's just like one, for example, if you got 10 properties in your network and it syndicates to 9 of them, and it's just this one that's like intermittent or hit or miss, that kind of stuff, just reconnect the channel or the service, and that should fix it. But if it's all of them, then it's likely a trigger issue on the RSS feed side of things, which would lead me to believe sometimes there can be problems with your RSS feed from your WordPress blog. I'm assuming you're using WordPress, but or any site for that matter that has an RSS feed. Sometimes there's problems specifically with WordPress. You can sometimes have theme or other plugin compatibility issues that will actually affect the RSS feed. And that's a pain in the ass. You've got to isolate that through process of elimination. Or another quick fix, sometimes when there's and I've run into this before, where I've had issues with RSS feed not being picked up by IFTTT, and the only way to fix it, I was never able. In some cases, I've not been able to isolate the reason why, and I've had to develop or find a workaround. And the workaround typically is to go burn a feed burner feed from the WordPress feed, and then use the feed burner feed URL as your RSS URL for the trigger of the applets, and that oftentimes will fix it. The only problem with that is some of the properties that we syndicate to, when using the feed burner feed, it doesn't pull in the feed the correct feed title, so it'll kind of like be like a blank title or a generic title, or it'll say feed burner or something like that. But in my opinion, it's not that big of a deal. I use the feed burner trick as kind of like a last resort if I can't isolate the original problem. You guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, use a feed validation service. So you, for example, have like validata.w3.org. I can post a link. Okay. Backup ladder one as well, which I highly recommend. And use that as like very first indicator to see if the feed is valid and if there are any errors on there.
Okay, thank you.
He also says that everything goes back to normal. So to me, that's not really a problem. To me, that would just be focused more on are you getting results? If he checks and after a few weeks everything is normal, everything is the way it should be, what are the results of what he's doing? Because maybe he's just focusing on something that's not really an issue.
Yeah.
So that would be my only advice is that. So what are the results? Are you getting more traffic? Are you getting more leads, sales? Whatever it is that your end result or your goal should be or is, what is it that you're getting there? Because the only way that this is a problem is if you're not getting the end result. That's when you start working your way back and seeing what it is that you need to fix. Right now, I really don't see that he needs to fix anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and Andy, I recommend throughout the training as well, and as often as I can, really, don't focus, like kind of what Marco said, is focus on the bigger picture stuff. If it's flat out just not syndicating any of the properties, then yeah, go troubleshoot, go investigate. But if it's just intermittent or it's hit or miss with some of the properties, I recommend just avoid, skipping it, because focus on bigger stuff instead of sweating the small stuff. I know, because in my when I first started using, or actually for quite some time after I started building and using syndication networks, I would spend sometimes hours trying to troubleshoot every single little issue, to where I wanted every post to get syndicated to every property in the network 100% of the time. And I would burn up an enormous amount of time going through and, troubleshooting stuff that I couldn't repair anyways. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't anything that I could have done to fix it. It was an issue with one of the Web2 platforms, or it was an issue with IFTTT or something and you end up spending hours of time working on something that you're unable to repair anyways, and it's frustrating as hell. And it's just wasted time. It's, you know, trying to be a perfectionist. And Andy, I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying, is for the benefit of everybody, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, as long as a lot of the times, if you just leave it alone, like what you mentioned in your comment, and then come back to it, it will have repaired itself. So the couple of tips that I just gave you are some quick fixes that you can go in and test very quickly. Reconnect the channel. It's always the first thing that I recommend. And then if you're still continuing to get repeated errors or non-syndicated posts from your RSS feed, then go burn a feed and replace the feed URL as the trigger in the applets. Okay. And that's your quickest fixes.